Hello and welcome, my name is Simon Dan and I am back with another response. Now the video I'm going to respond to today was made by a channel called Blue Sky Stone. We've already had a bit of dialogue and he is expecting my response. However, I have to say he was very rude to me. I must admit I didn't realise how triggered these flat earthers get when you ask them questions that can completely disprove their beliefs. Anyway, let's get on with the video.
Gravity versus buoyancy.
Okay, straight off the bat, there's absolutely no need to have these two against each other. In fact, buoyancy couldn't exist without gravity. That tells me you haven't got a clue about what you're talking about. But let's continue.
Let's see how we do here with this test. On the left, we have a glass of regular tap water. On the right, we have a glass of regular tap water with a bunch of salt added. Over here we got eggs. So let's start. Let's see what happens when we put an egg in the clear glass of water. It sinks. Yay, gravity! Let's do a second egg. Yay, gravity! How about the salt water? Whoa, what's going on there? It's floating. Well, let's try these eggs. Those are both floating. What the hell is going on here?
I'm going to assume that you know the answer to that question, but you are using it for dramatic effect. Okay, so water has a density of 1 gram per centimetre cubed and an egg has a density of around 1.045 grams per centimetre cubed. The density of salt water varies depending on how much salt you put in it. The more salt you add, the greater the mass of the water. The greater the mass, the greater the density. So what's happened so far is exactly what you'd expect.
So what is going on here with the eggs? Why are they defying gravity? This jar of water is denser than this jar of water because this jar of water has a bunch of salt in it.
Correct. Your experiment to show buoyancy and density was a complete success.
Like the clouds floating over your head, the density will reach an equilibrium between the density of the egg and the density of the water, and that's where the water will sit. Has nothing to do with gravity whatsoever.
Oh, okay. As with most flat earthers, they cherry pick the bits of science that don't agree with their model and claim to be experts on it, when in actual fact they know nothing at all about the subject they're trying to talk to us about, and he genuinely has no idea about the science around gravity. Right, he believes buoyancy is a thing, yes, which of course it is, so knowing he won't refute the concept of buoyancy, because his whole argument hinges on it, let's have a quick look at what buoyancy actually is. Buoyancy, also known as buoyant force, is the force exerted on an object that is wholly or partly immersed in a fluid. So all buoyancy is then is just another force, like friction or air resistance or thrust. It simply acts in the opposite direction to gravity, which is why his eggs are floating when the density of the salt water is greater. As the density of the tap water is less than the egg, there can be a less buoyant force and gravity wins. Also, isn't it ironic that this guy's trying to disprove gravity with something that has a unit of newtons?
Now, I'm sorry, I don't know about you, but if countering gravity only requires a few scoops of salt, then gravity is a big pussy. And a hoax.
As I explained in my previous video, which the link is in the description, gravity is not that strong. It doesn't require a huge amount of force to counter it. You need to be very close to a ridiculously large amount of mass before we start feeling a serious effect. It's why you can jump up with relatively little effort, and it's also why you fall back down. So I guess you could say gravity is a bit of a pussy, but that doesn't mean it's not real. I mean, you're probably a pussy too, but you're real. Now that I've destroyed his experiment, I've got a further point I'd like to mention. Nearly every flat earther I see trying to debunk gravity uses density or buoyancy. That's all they have. And I get why people would fall for this, because the argument in part does make a little bit of sense. However, it can't explain other effects of gravity. Now, The question I asked this man was as follows. When you plant a seed, it always knows which way to grow. Roots down, shoots up. How do you think it knows that? He responded, saying he doesn't answer rhetorical questions on social media and that I was merely trying to stroke my own ego. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, sir, but it was not a rhetorical question. The answer is something called geotropism. Plants produce a hormone called auxin, and that hormone is produced in the plant depending on various factors. For example, it's produced in a plant when it reacts to light, allowing it to grow in the direction of that light. When a seed is planted, that hormone is produced due to a direct response to gravity. The gravitational pull of the earth allows the seed to know which way is down and which way is up. The auxin is produced, roots will then grow in the direction of gravity, and shoots will grow against the direction of gravity. If Mr. Blue Sky Stone can offer any other credible reason as to why this happens, I'd love to hear it, because density and buoyancy sure can't explain this. I'll be very happy to receive some sort of a response from him, and if I don't get one, I will happily assume that you concede that gravity is real. Thank you all very much for watching. If you want to see more of this sort of thing, then please like and subscribe. I've got lots more videos coming. I've been Simon Dan, and I shall see you again soon.